Greetings, my friends. Today I'm going to answer the curious question of whether or not it's possible that you can activate your DNA, what that even means, and what would be the resulting impact in your life if this were to take place. And it's a curious question indeed if we consider the fact that when you go to the mirror, the way that you appear, that is a result of the expression of your DNA. How much energy you have during the day, how you feel during the day, your hormonal state, for example, how functional you are at work, how functional you are in relationships. These are all reflections of the functionality and expression of your DNA. Now, to explain this more effectively, I'm going to need to first do two things. I'm going to need to define what the DNA is and how it operates, and also the difference between the terms a change in the expression of your DNA and DNA activation, because these are two different things. So first of all, let's have a look at the anatomy of the DNA, and there's two aspects to this. Firstly, there is the seen or physical manifestation of the DNA, which begins with the atoms that compose the molecules that formulate the double helix DNA that you would see under the microscope, right? And the other aspect of this is the unseen manifestation of the DNA, what is called the phantom DNA, or the light layers and vibrational layers that formulate the subatomic waves and frequencies that give rise to the atoms in your DNA. So just to define the difference between an expression in your DNA and the activation of your DNA. The expression is if you were to, for example, do some exercise or change your diet, then you would change the environmental stimulation in which your DNA is inhabiting your body, right? In doing so, then your body would respond to that stimulation and select from within the active genetic material within your DNA, which is currently around 3% of active genetic material. It would choose to express that in a different way. And so what you would see is a gradual change in the body appearance, function, form, etc. You would begin to feel more healthy. So that is to have a change in the expression of the DNA. The environment is impacting the way in which the DNA is manifesting and coding the cells that then become the organs, the bones, the tissues, the muscles, etc. that are your current body form. So note that I mentioned from within the 3% of active genetic material. So to activate your DNA would be to heal the quantum layers of the DNA so that you actually have more genetic material active for the coding of proteins when your body is replacing and replenishing itself. So you would have an entirely different possibility arising within your body if you activate this potential within you, if that makes sense. So to make this more clear on another level, I'm going to use an analogy of a tree, for example, a fruit tree. If you were to water the fruit tree, if you were to manure the fruit tree around its roots, and if you were to prune the fruit tree by trimming its branches, then this is all environmental stimulations which will cause the tree to grow more abundantly. You will get a better yield, you will get more fruit back in return. So that is to change the expression, as it were, of the so-called DNA within the tree. It will express itself differently. However, it is still the same tree basically. It's just a little bit of a better version of that. So that is what happens when we change our diet for the better and exercise. We change the expression of the 3% of genetic material within the currently coding or active DNA. To actually activate our DNA, what is required, if we are to stay with our tree analogy, is that you would need to go not even to the roots, but you would need to go to the seed through which the tree has grown and change the information there. And if you think about how small a seed is in comparison to the enormous tree that eventually becomes, you can see that's an interesting observation there, that the very, very small becomes the very, very large. Well, it's consistent with the rest of nature and the human genome as well, because it's the very, very small subatomic wavelength frequencies and particles that become the atoms that formulate our DNA. That is where the information is that tells the DNA how to express and makes what DNA is available in the coding of proteins to create your new body tissues. So how would we go to the seed level of your DNA? What would we need to do? It's a good question, right? And the question is logically sound, right? You would need to go and utilize the same or the equivalent wavelength frequencies that are manifesting as the subatomic DNA particles, we could say, and frequencies. In other words, you would need to use wavelength frequencies of light and vibration, because that's what exists on the subatomic level. So where would we go to find this? Well, you could go to a nuclear power plant, and there is nuclear power there, because that's what nuclear power is. It's power from within the atom. But I wouldn't encourage that, because that's not a healthy way to approach this. The healthiest way to approach this is to utilize the most advanced technology on the earth. Sounds expensive, doesn't it? It sounds unlikely that we're going to get hold of this, but the good news is that the human body is actually the most advanced piece of technology on the earth. The unfortunate news is that there are very, very few people who have regenerated their genetic code to the point where they can facilitate this for us. A person that can do this is called a quantum energy master, and the way that they're able to do that is that through the agency or the support of another quantum energy master, they were able to regenerate their genetic code, and they can now utilize the quantum wavelength frequencies of light and vibration as a fuel source. In other words, they have not only physical fuel source such as food, liquid, drink, and breathing air, that's available to them. Those are material energy sources, but they can also draw energy from the magnetic field of the earth. They can also draw energy from the sun. It's called solar power, right? Energy in the form of light. They can take energy frequencies and vibrations from interstellar sources, from the very stars that are there day and night. These are very subtle influences, and you won't realize that they're there unless your DNA has been regenerated to the point through which you can receive them. So in doing so, then they have trained their body to be able to cultivate this energy source. And if we're going to continue with our tree analogy here, say for example you went out into the orchard with a basket and you put some apples into the basket, you've got 3, 5, 10, 50 apples, then that would be a process of energy cultivation in the physical form. You are cultivating physical energy and bringing it to yourself. You could then go in and you could hand out those apples, and you could share that energy with other people. Now, if those people were to eat the apples, that would go through their digestive system, it would absorb into their body, and it would become part of the chemical environment in which their DNA inhabits. As a result, there would be an epigenetic effect, and so their DNA could potentially utilize those nutrients and change the expression of the cells so that you become more healthy. Apples are reasonably healthy, right? So for a quantum energy master, it's the same. It's just that they're working not with a physical form of energy, but with a non-physical form of energy. They are able to receive this quantum energy in the form of light and vibration and cultivate it within their body, because their DNA is a wavelength receiver and transmitter. So their body, at a level of expertise, becomes an on-site transmission point for planetary, solar and interstellar power, through which they can create an energy field, and that if anybody is within that energy field, their DNA will be exposed to that frequency, and therefore it will regenerate itself. So to show the difference between a common person who hasn't gone through this regenerating process and a quantum energy master, it would be a little like this. If you were to jump into a swimming pool, if there was no water in it, then you wouldn't get wet, right? You would not be exposed to that energy frequency that we call fluid. You might hurt your ankle jumping in because there's no water, but you wouldn't get wet, right? So that is what it's like for a common person that hasn't learned to yield this power. For a quantum energy master, their pool is full, for example. So in the presence of their energy field, it's like you're jumping into a full pool. You will get wet. Your body will be saturated by the energy frequency that they have created. That will impact the energetic environment in which your DNA is inhabiting. And as a result of that, your subatomic layers, or your light and vibrational layers to your DNA, will begin to regenerate. Now, with time and practice, you will then be able to utilize that as an energy source also. You can eat, you can drink, you can breathe, and you can also directly absorb quantum energy sources as a power. Incredible consideration, is it not? So what will this do for you? Well, like I mentioned, the operational blueprint, or the information through which your body is manifesting, is contained within the seed level, or the quantum layers within your DNA. So as that regenerates, you will find that you have more genetic tissue active to then be expressed in the proteins that create the cells, organs, muscles, etc. of your body form. So one thing you'll do is, of course, you will begin to enhance the very body form that you have. You will have a superior model of your body. Now, the first thing that's going to take place is if you've got any aches and pains, if you've got any illnesses or dysfunction, then that's going to clear up, because your body's going to heal itself with its more functional model or system. That's just the first thing that's going to take place. Now, with practice, as you begin to absorb higher frequencies of light, because it's not just like you have light and vibration, you have very many different vibrational frequencies within those spectrums. As you move into higher frequencies, you will hit critical points at which your body goes through various transmutations. As you do that, you will find that light actually moves into a current that moves directly into your brain, and your brain will start to regenerate itself. Your mind will expand. Most people are aware we're using less than 10% of the brain currently for most people. This is how we regenerate our system. And you'll be able to relate to the fact that when you have more energy, you can think more clearly, you're more motivated, you function better, right? So it's as simple as that. When you have a higher frequency energy within your system, many more potentials come in line for you to explore. So another thing for you to be aware of, as I'm sure you're probably a little interested in this by now, is that as you engage with this quantum energy, don't expect to be able to see it, at least straight away. You can't even see the air, right? And that's elemental particle. Oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, those are elemental particles. So you can't expect to see a subatomic frequency, right? So the way in which you're going to experience this will be through the feeling state. In the energetic field that a master creates, you will feel this absorbing into your body, and you will feel your body regenerating. So I'll leave that with you for a while to contemplate, and I also invite you, if you're interested to find out more, you can email me, you can message me on Facebook, stop me in the street, whatever works, and I'll be more than happy to discuss this further with you. It's obviously a passion and interest of mine. The reason being is that through direct experience I've found that it's simply the most important thing that I've ever undertaken, given myself the gift of regenerating this system that I call my human body and mind, so that I can be the greatest me, so that I can perform at my best and do well in all areas of life. So until then, I hope to hear from you. Stay true to yourself and contemplate this a little further.